If you're like me and you grew up in the American school system, you heard of Martin Luther King Jr. at least once a year. But it wasn't until recently that I revisited his letter from Birmingham jail, which turned out to be one of, if not the most, critical document to the civil rights movement. Not just because of its political influence, but because of the theological and ethical undertones of the document itself. King famously says, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." But what he does next is even more radical. He is responding to pastors who told him, "Martin, now is not the time for a civil rights movement. Let's follow the government." And King responds by saying, yes, we do have a moral obligation to follow just laws, but we also have a moral obligation to disobey unjust laws. That sounds pretty radical, but it's not rebellion or unbiblical. It's actually both Aristotelian ethics and classical Christian theology. A law is only a law if it accords with moral law, if it uplifts human dignity and reflects love of your neighbor. Then King goes on to say something that should make every Christian uncomfortable. He says, "We will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the hateful words and actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people." And when I read that, I couldn't help but think of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Bonhoeffer watched Christians in Nazi Germany quote Romans 13 to support Nazism. And to combat that, he said, "Silence in the face of evil is itself evil." King and Bonhoeffer are both saying the same thing to the Christian people. Silence is not neutral. In the presence of injustice, silence becomes moral complicity. If you can see the suffering clearly and still choose comfort over solidarity, your silence is not neutral. It's not about being personally nice or being morally pure. It's about whether our voice, or rather lack thereof, is helping injustice survive or helping love survive. So the question King forces on us in 2026 is not who were the marginalized people back then. Rather, it's the who are the marginalized people today. Is it the poor, the migrant, the incarcerated, the unhoused, the mentally ill? And what unjust laws are we quietly benefiting from while calling it too complicated to care about? Today, King would tell us the greatest danger is not loud hatred. It's quiet Christianity. And he would be writing his letter not to Washington, D.C., but to the church as we know it.